Pitaya. I cannot wait to dive in with Chuck because I've known him for over a decade. We were both figuring out how to start our food businesses in La Jolla back in 2010, 2009. And what he's been able to do and his team with both Pitaya and HiTouch has been, as an observer and friend, just amazing to watch. And I just can't wait to actually unpack a lot of the story that I really don't even know and share it with everybody here. So super excited to have Chuck on. Before we dive in, while everybody's popping in, just want to give some housekeeping. So on the Naturally San Diego event, just call out whoever joined us for our pitch slam, which was 2 weeks ago. Went off really well, and big kudos to everybody on the team that got that putting together and the winners of that. Coming up this month, we have Coffee and Convos on Friday, April 30th at 9 a.m. We have an office hours coming next month in the middle of May, May 14th, and that's with Darren Saul. He's the CEO of Vendo. So if you're interested in Amazon strategy and profitability on Amazon and just using that marketplace appropriately, that's going to be a really good conversation with Darren around how they've built brands on Amazon. They've built a lot of big brands. And then we have our new member meet and greet. We'll also be announcing a special founder series in May that we'll be getting out to you guys very soon here. We're just waiting on confirmation. That is also just an excellent company in San Diego here that story deserves to be told. So keep up to date on all our events with the website and on social. And any questions you have, you can just shoot it to memberships at naturallysandiego.org. We do our best to have every Friday clubhouse because Clubhouse is cool. And we're doing our best to stay informed there. So join in on a clubhouse. We have that every Friday at noon, and stay in touch with our community on Slack as well. Okay, so for everybody that are members and you want to be more involved in the Naturally San Diego community, reach out to us and check out our blog. We're looking for individuals to join certain committees, which is marketing, finance, programming, and sponsorship. So if you have any interest in any of these, apply on the website, and we'll get you paired up with the right folks in your interest level and get you more involved in the community. All right, and then none of this would be available without our great sponsors. Pitaya there as a platinum sponsor. Chuck, we thank you so very much for your contributions, and then all of our sponsors. Just I love this slide because it reminds us how great the community in San Diego is here. So thank you very much to all the sponsors, and reach out, guys, engage with us and let us know how we can improve. And we just look forward to providing great value to the community as we continue to grow Naturally San Diego. All right, Chuck, my man. Yes.
Let's do this.
So I'm just going to kind of set the stage here for a lot of folks. So the thing I love about this industry is everybody thinks it's easy to assume that stuff happens overnight, right? You see a brand and, thousands of points of distribution. And I think the most fascinating part are the stories of how you got there instead of just being there. And so help set us the stage for us on Pitaya. I definitely want to talk HiTouch, and we'll probably evolve into that. But
Pitaya came first, so it's a natural evolution.
Pitaya came first. So walk us through the early, because the Pitaya I know is 2010, talking about a ready-to-drink juice. But I'm sure there's a story way before that. So where does Pitaya start?
Yeah, sure. So, just kind of starts with Chuck Casano, obviously. I grew up on the Northeast in Long Island, never really had like an agricultural background or stuff. Went to Villanova and stayed on the East Coast, used to work for IBM in sales and marketing, and working for a company with 300,000 employees was just a crazy experience for me. And but always been like an entrepreneur at heart. Even when I graduated, I was living in Manhattan. I was always just hustling, bartending for 10 years in New York City. That definitely teaches you a lot. And then, me and my friends we would say some people buy cars, like we bought bars. Like we would just pool all our money and buy like a bar in Manhattan for a little while. And as it was struggling, bring it back to life and then walk away once it was good, or once it started to tail off again.
So the bar thing, I gotta interrupt you. Is that a big capital expense? And then is the recovery, is it all about the product or is it all sales and marketing
So basically the formula was we would find bars that were like struggling for like 2 to 3 years that were just hemorrhaging capital. And it was just all me and my buddies in our 20s who were, had worked in corporate finance and or IBM and then would bartend at night. And we would just bring the whole office in for happy hour and stuff. So there was like 10 or 20 of us. And, we'd go to a bar and be like, listen, you've got 2 years left on your lease. We'll pack this place out for 2 years left, and we'd put money into the place. We'd refurbish it like on the cheap and then just bring all our friends in there. And like the life cycle of a bar in Manhattan is pretty much 2 years anyway. So it's like,
Yeah.
once we got as much money out as we could, we paid everyone back and started to make money. We'd just find another bar. And like, we did
Wow.
that for like 10 years and it was fun, but I knew that, I was not going to be in bars and nightlifes and raise a family for the rest of my life. So I kind of walked away from that. And I saw my friends doing really well in finance. So I'm like, I gotta game up my finance. So I did, was looking for an MBA and I did undergraduate work in Spain and found an MBA in Spain in Madrid. That was just like my dream. It was like 220 students from 70 different countries with a real entrepreneurial focus. Shout out to Instituto de Empresa, like one of the best experiences of my life. And it just took you through all like business plan writing. And I was not even looking at P&Ls or balance sheets. Like I was working for IBM in sales and marketing. So I thought I was going to do that, go into corporate finance after that.
At this point, are you fluent in Spanish when you go there, or is it immersive program or not an immersive program?
The classes were in English. So your day-to-day life was in Spanish. So I became fluent in Spanish over that.
But going into it, you didn't have a Spanish background, or did you?
I was a Spanish major in college, but that really wasn't that helpful. Like I kind of limped in there. It definitely helped me become Spanish. But the challenge was you had all these international students and all the classes were in English. So there was only like 3 Americans in the school. So my talent was I could actually write all the English and all the papers and submit and do all the presentations. So like it was like I just had a team of group work. Everyone do like all the hard stuff and they'd be like, you just write it and present it. I'm like, all right, that's my job.
I mean, I think I just want to just unpack that for a second, because I think it's going to be connected to, being down in Nicaragua and having a brand that has roots in that tongue and that language. But did you already have this kind of innate sense of exploration, and like why an international MBA and why not, a normal MBA domestically?
I just always wanted to live in Europe. Like I had a really good experience in undergrad and I just wanted to live on my own. At that point I'd had money in the bank. Like I paid for the MBA out of my own pocket, like all the money we made from bars and IBM. And it was just like a way to live by myself in a different country. And I mean, my friends and contacts for that school are some of the best ones.
How old were you then?
27.
27. So you paid for your own MBA. You're 27. You're making good money at IBM, and that's a 2-year program, or what is that?
It was like 18 months. It was condensed. You were in school every day from like 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon.
Wow.
It was great. Like, but just having that exposure from all these different countries.
Yeah.
My global network through that school is, it's pretty incredible. And we're still really close knit today.
Yeah. Amazing.
So I, thought I had the world, get about to crush everything, go back from Spain. I'm interviewing at Bear Stearns during this.
2009, huh?
2008.
Oh.
And so I'd been interviewing and we graduated off cycle in December. And so I've got my job. I'm going to start at Bear Stearns trading Latin American equities. And all my friends who are working in finance, like, Bear Stearns is going down. I'm like, dude, what's that going down? I'm like, they have their own building. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, this is not going. I'm like, there's people like, what are you talking about? And so it goes. And so the story is like on my first week that Bear Stearns goes down, and I'm like,
wait, hold on a second. You had an offer already from Bear Stearns. So this is like 2008. You graduate MBA, offer, sail to the sun. My goodness.
Starting that week, I'm like, this is great. Just coming back from Madrid, going back to New York. I'm like, Bear goes down, and I'm like, wow, I'm like, whoa, that was crazy. I'm like, what do you mean Bear's gone? So they went down, and then that same team went over to Lehman Brothers, and they're
And
like, hey, Chuck, don't worry about it. We're all just getting our feet set. Once we're settled, you can come here. So I'm still in New York. I'm like with my friends. I'm like, okay, those guys will get settled. I'll start at Lehman in a couple of weeks, months, interviewing everywhere. And at the same time, just interviewing every person. And at that time in the credit crunch, like nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew like how deep the crisis was going to be. Like everyone just kept on like postponing it. And then Lehman went down, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what? Like the world is telling me not to be in investment banking.
I just had to ask you, like, when you're interviewing, because like I remember this so vividly, and I do think that it's easier in hindsight to say like this how bad it was, but when you're like bear goes down and you're interviewing, are like you having normal interviews, and like even interviewees are like, it's not that bad, or like people are like, no, we're hiring freeze, we don't know.
It was like nobody knew what was going on. Nobody was hiring, right? Like everyone was like, everyone's like, just come in and talk because we don't really know what's going on. So like, maybe this stuff will get cleared up over the
Right.
summer. Like everyone was just like, just come on in anyway. Like, let's
Wow.
do this. But like, there were no jobs, right? And so, just side funny note, I'm like sitting in Union Square one day, and I'm reading about all the car bailouts, and this guy comes up to
Yeah.
me from the Sunday Times, which was like the Wall Street Journal of London, and he's like, what do you think about the bailout? I'm like, well, I'm a capitalist, I think they should just let him go down. And he's like, what are you? And I tell him this story about Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers and like all these interviews that have gone, and all of a sudden he's like, do you mind if I do an article on you? And so on the Sunday Times in London,
You're kidding.
he did a interview, the picture of my face with the title, Bad Luck Chuck loses 5 jobs in Wall Street, like the cover of the Sunday Times. So all my friends in London who I just did my MBA with are calling me up. They're like, dude, you're on the cover of the Sunday Times. I wish I had the
Bad
article.
luck, Chuck.
Bad Luck Chuck, dude. It was like, so that was Bad Luck Chuck. That was rock bottom Chuck. But like, I still was like I was like, I just got to do something else now. And so I had a friend during my MBA, and she was working for a nonprofit down in Nicaragua. And I'm like, I'm just gonna like teach English on the beach at this point in like Argentina.
Because
I'm
you're
like,
just like stressed out. You just spent 18 months and a ton of money in MBA, and like none of this stuff's panning out. You just need a break.
I was just like, this is just horrible. Like, and so she's like, well, we have this fellowship program. And I like applied, and like I got in right away. And this nonprofit based in Nicaragua, their focus or their thesis was, we're going to cure poverty through growth of the private sector. And so we would be helping small businesses grow their business and create jobs. They had access to capital, so good jobs, good companies would have some capital. And being in Nicaragua, just all the good ideas were just, I mean, most of the industry is just agriculture based. So this was kind of like my first introduction into agriculture. And so, I was just driving around the country for like 6 or 7 months, meeting with farmers, understanding farm capacity. And this is where,
So that
IBM.
was the fellowship. The fellowship was very much, how do we bridge private enterprise with the foundation of business here, which is agriculture.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and just how do we grow these businesses and set them up for success? And there was like 6 or 7 of us, or probably like closer to 10, all former MBAs. We partnered with another like company called MBAs Without Borders, and just
Yep.
trying to like dig into these businesses. And I mean, I just fell in love with Nicaragua. Like it was just, the people are so nice. It's the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere behind Haiti. They don't have a lot, but they give a lot. And driving around this country, I was like in the best health I've ever been in my life. Like I was like, just everything that I was eating was so fresh. My roommate was this French girl who like taught our cleaning lady how to like cook these French meals, all this fresh food. It was pretty incredible. And so what it was eye-opening was, for like what I saw in Nicaragua, like there were supermarkets in like outside in the parking lots of the supermarkets. Like all this fresh produce was just like showing up all over the country. And I just, and because they're so poor, they don't have a lot of access to pesticides and stuff. So a lot of the stuff was like default organic. And so what I saw in Nicaragua was this huge untapped resource for organic raw material. Like I didn't have the idea for dragon fruit yet or anything like that.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're eating dragon fruit every day at the house. And I was like, oh, this is great. And whatever, had my time there, fell in love with the country, came back to New York, was still looking for jobs in banking. I'm like, okay, now I've got like this.
Like I'm still a banker, even though I just spent 6 months in farm. I'm still a banker for sure.
I'm still a banker. And then I like went on to these interviews and I'm like, stop this. I'm like, this is not what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And I'm like literally living in New York. Acai was blowing up. Coconut water was blowing up.
What year is this? Give us an idea of what year. It's like
2009.
2009. So Mark and they're doing the Zico thing and
yep.
Brian's is acai already on the East Coast at this point?
Yeah. It's just like popping up. Yeah. And so they're popping. I'm like, where's my red dragon fruit? And like my girlfriend, now wife at the time, was like living in Chinatown, and like there was like fresh dragon fruit, but it was all like the white kind, and the red wasn't existing. I'm like, all right, well, maybe I should just start importing this stuff. And went back to Nicaragua, started meeting with farmers and understand their capacity, taking what I learned in at the nonprofit. And then, what I learned is like Dole and Chiquito would come down to Nicaragua and like, tell these farmers they're going to buy all this stuff. But when Dole and Chiquito realizes that they can't supply 300 million Americans with this fruit, they don't really care about it. Right. And so there was this
supply chain can't scale to what they need.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, there's like, could be some niche opportunity here. I met a partner down in Nicaragua who was just getting his brand going, exporting dehydrated organic fruits. Started talking with him. I'm like, hey, do you want to like do some, can you help me export this frozen stuff? So he and our idea was we're going to do juice. And so then I start writing my business plan. And, we're going to export this pulp. We're going to juice it in LA and we're going to sell it to Whole Foods. So
the idea is take a frozen like fruit base, thaw it out, blend it, pulp, and then put it in RTD drinks for orientation. Yep. Is it Pitaya at this point? Is the name Pitaya?
So we'll get back to Pitaya, but it's red dragon fruit. So Nicaraguans call Pitaya. It's really called Pitahaya, and like Pitaya is a different fruit. So we like kind of rename like our fruit. Our name is not as accurate as the fruit, but it sounded better than Pitahaya because nobody was going to pronounce Pitahaya. So, oh man, sorry about that. So we do this. Ben distracted me. He's trying to call me with work stuff. So we export this thing, and what we did with the farmers, we're like, listen, our promise to you, because all these people would come down and make promises to them, like, we will purchase 100% of the USDA organic red dragon fruit that you can supply. And there really wasn't any of that in the market. And they're like, okay. So we started with 10 small family-owned farms where we were processing the smoothie packs, or like in the beginning, it was just 5-gallon drums. We had like 10 single moms. We were trying to like create jobs for single moms down there. Yep. And so we built this like nice story. And so, what started with 10 small family-owned farms, fast forward 11 years, we've now gotten over 715 farms, USDA certified organic, the place where we process the fruit. Last year, we created over 175 new jobs for single moms. Wow. So really expanded the program. And like the foundation of Pitaya Foods is like, we always want to support the communities that we source from. And leave them in a better place. And it's kind of cool to see this whole area of Nicaragua now. Part of the organic requisites or like requirements, or you got to like pick up trash in the neighborhood. Like trash should be strewn through these like beautiful green areas. And now it's just like the greenery is just like all over. It's like high fidelity greenery. So we've been able
when you scaled, I mean, just out of curiosity, did you have to go set up a co-op, or did you encourage the families to build their own co-op in those farms and then, have like a democratically elected representative of the co-op? How does that work?
So we worked with our partner down there, and we would, in the beginning, we were like going into the fields with like fistfuls of cash. And then, when it gets, when you're trying to purchase millions of dollars of fruit, you can't do that anymore. So
Yeah.
then, we work with our partners. We've opened bank accounts for a lot of these farmers. So we bring them into the formal market, and now we like wire all the transactions. We
Yep.
answer your question. We go out to the farms. We have co-ops, but there's collection points. And so they bring it. We go the trucks with scales. They get weighed, and they get these tickets that they can that we wire them money for.
Yeah.
So
We skipped over a ton, and I need to get back to it. So it's 2010, 9-ish,
Yeah.
and I'm still confused on how you get to La Jolla, because I met you in La Jolla. So
came back from Nicaragua, and so I wrote that business plan. I got funding from an investor in New York who was a family friend, and I was like, okay, I didn't want to launch this on the East Coast. Like, I was like, I don't want to do a fresh juice. I'm not trying to bring up like cases of juice. And I had like 6 or 7 years in Manhattan. And so I'm like, it's fresh, it's cool. It's kind of like the same thing that I say about a HiTouch. Like, we got to go out to Southern California and launch this. I thought I was going out to LA, and I'm looking at LA trying to launch a brand. I'm like, we could like give 3 bottles of juice to everyone who runs the LA marathon, and nobody's going to remember us the next day. And so came down to San Diego, where I met Ben, who was married to my cousin at the time. And we started talking. And I found La Jolla in San Diego for the first time. I'm like, dude, this place is amazing. And I felt like we could really like cultivate. It was big enough where we could cultivate like brand recognition, and it was way more comfortable. I was like, we're near the beach. I'm like, this is Southern California. Like, I don't want to be hanging on the beach in Santa Monica. Like, this is
right.
this is Southern California to me. And lucky enough, we found a house, and it had a 1-car garage, and me and Ben launched the business out of a 1-car garage. And that's what happened. So we kind of, back in Nicaragua, we went like in 2010, we were running around like the farms with fistfuls of cash, filling it up with buckets. We did like a 1/4 container. It got shipped up to the US, and then we bottled it. And then that's when Green Juice was launching, and they had these connections at Whole Foods in Rocky Mountain, and they presented it like literally the first bottle came off the line. I ran to FedEx. I overnighted to Colorado, where Green Juice was presenting to Whole Foods the next day. They brought it along. It got authorized in Colorado. Like, they're like, okay, our first production run authorized, our first retailers in Whole Foods.
Oh my.
We're going for it. So
you're like, this business is so easy. Look how easy this is. You bring some containers up, you sell it, it's done.
It's like too easy. So me, Ben, and Lauren, my wife, girlfriend at the time, we're like, we have to make sure this thing sells in Colorado. So we just packed up a Ford Edge and drove to Colorado. The 3 of us living in a La Quinta for like, it was sharing a room. We didn't even have a budget for like 2 rooms. So it was just the 3 of us. And we had 2 demos a day in the Rocky Mountain regions every day for 30 days. And we just did not.
And so at this point, the product is a 12-ounce RTD dragon fruit. Like, is it red, bright red?
Yeah.
And the whole pitch is antioxidants.
Yeah. We're like, it's antioxidants. It's like, it's dragon fruit juice. It's a super fruit. It's new. It's low sugar. And so we demoed the heck out of it. And because we demoed it so well, then like we literally sold every bottle like one-on-one. Like, and so then we get an author.
And at that point, I'm just trying, were you competing against like Blueprints and Suja and
Mama Chia? Mama
Chia. We got to get Jane. Yes, they were just blowing up at this time. Yeah,
they were killing it. We're like, dude, the glass bottle looks so beautiful. They did such a good job with it. And Jane, I think is
Janie. Yeah, awesome. We got to get Janie and Lance on for sure.
So then we get authorized in NorCal. We pack up the Edge. We do every single demo in NorCal. Then we get Southern California. We do. So I've been to every single Whole Foods, definitely in those 3 regions, like, and demoed out them. And what an amazing experience to get real feedback from customers. Like, oh, this tastes horrible. There's not enough sugar. Like, nobody's like. And so,
what was feedback? What was the consensus? I mean,
it was okay, but like Blueprint was launching at the time then too. So people were just like filling their carts with $12 lemonades and
Yeah,
like
because it was
cold,
Suja was 9.99. That's when
cold,
Suja was
cold
nine.
press. Suja wasn't even out yet. And then cold press just like ran over at, like people were just going too crazy for that.
Because at
Um,
that point, you guys not HPP, not cold press. It's just juice.
pasteurized juice. Um, and so we, what happened? So then, yeah. And so we got into all these regions and we're looking at our business. We're like, okay, this is great. We got like 500 accounts, but it's like the velocity really wasn't there. And we're like, the margins weren't there. And we're like, we built this great, we built a business. People are drinking this. It's on shelf, but it wasn't like flying off the shelf, especially compared to the competition. But at the same time, it now is like we went another year, 2011, and we got, uh, we started shipping up smoothie packs in our second container. We shipped up like 600 cases and we sold them to like,
Before you had an account, you were like, "Oh, we
yeah,
can
like,
probably
like
sell."
let's just put these stuff in bags. We'll try and sell it. We gets there. We sold it to like the Juice Caboose in La Jolla.
I remember so vividly.
Juice Caboose in La Jolla. A couple, I'm like totally escaping me. And like Ben and I just got back in the Prius and we would hit every juice bar. And we'd walk into juice bars and we'd be like, we try and find the whitest smoothie, like a coconut smoothie. And be like, can we get a coconut smoothie? And like, can you put this pack in it? And they're like, what is this? We're like, just put it in. They're like, and then the blender turns electric pink. And they're like, what is this? We're like, it's dragon fruit. Like, where'd you get it? And we're like, we have a Prius full of it. You want some? And so we're like, so,
Hey, Chuck, what's the name of that juice bar next to the gym in La Jolla? There were
rum
the French
jungle,
people. What's it? Remember the French owner?
beaming, uh,
No,
juice crafters? No.
no. It was you guys were in there. That's where I discovered you guys. It was right in the La Jolla gym. They had like a whole organic cafe and juice
Oh,
and
leaning green.
lean and green. That's what
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So we hit every account and then like some distributors picked us up and then we looked at our business. We're like, we're selling one bottle of juice at Whole Foods in La Jolla and Juice Caboose is turning 50 units a day. Like forget the juice. And we just totally pivoted.
I just think that this is so fascinating to me, and it's so interesting for other entrepreneurs to chime in here, is because you have this grand vision. You see RTD beverages everywhere. It's such a stopper when you're walking the shelves, and then on a fly, you're like, let's import some frozen smoothie packs.
Yeah.
And like from my point of view, you guys did this because it's so loud, and maybe that's because you guys are good marketers on it. But I have now like people discover Pitaya because it's on menus at juice cafes. Like you guys have built the juice cafe network out.
Those guys did an amazing job educating the customer on what it was, right? And so, and for me, I love selling the smoothie pack because it was 100% fruit. Like that is the easiest, like we're not adding anything to it. There's one ingredient and it was like the real true representation of the fruit. Whereas the juice was like pasteurized and cooked. And I'm like, well, it doesn't really taste like this. Like here it is, here's the fruit, put it in your blender. All you're eating is fruit. And I love that. And it just started growing really well. Our turns were good. We're like the margin was good. And so after all these people started going to juice bars and getting educated on it, then they started going to Whole Foods and like, do you guys have pitaya or like red dragon fruit? They're like, no. And then we started a red dragon fruit 4-pack the same way that,
So
Samazon and
we have to pause for a second because you got to let us know the hard decision on the RTD front, right? Because like you had to square up and say, are we going to keep pushing this RTD beverage, or are we going to keep investing into this smoothie pack?
So
And
we knew it was clear. We're like, let's just like, we're making money on the frozen side. We got to get rid of this juice. So we still had like a ton of juice. Like we probably had like an 18-wheeler full. And we did a deal with Living Social where we
yeah,
did like a Pitaya cleanse. And it like when those things were blowing up, we had like, I think we did like 2,000 orders for this thing. We packed up 2,000 orders in our driveway in La Jolla down at Windansea,
you did
packed
not.
them all up, sent them away like to UPS, and that was the end of the juice. And Ben and I were like high-fiving and like we're never
How did we get rid of all this juice? Thank God we don't.
like we sold every bottle that we ever made. Like
You
nothing.
guys
Like
are hustlers.
we
I
just
love
couldn't.
that.
We had to get that money back some way, and we just put it all into the frozen. Um,
By the way, like this is just bringing back because you just like Groupon, Living Social, those huge group buys, which is totally gone now. But that was so you guys were on that.
oh, we that was our sale. That's how the juice sailed away, and we couldn't have been happier. And then we just then those juice bar customers are going to Whole Foods, and then we launched Whole Foods, and then um, we started just really getting into retail for the first time. And we grew region, but it took us like 4 or 5 years to be a global brand at Whole Foods. We went region by region by region by region.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And
and
I'm curious at this stage. So this is like 2012, 13, 14.
14,
And
15.
is there an acai dragon fruit battle, or are they? It seems from my end they coexisted quite well.
No, there
Or
was a battle. We always thought they were our competition, which is like ridiculous because the juice bars were like, it wasn't one or the other. It was great for the juice bars because somebody didn't have to eat acai every single day. And
yeah,
so there was a battle because we were taking dollars from acai, and so that there was a battle there. And definitely some distributor blocking and
yeah.
maneuvering, which is always happening. But that was great. Like we loved, competition is what fuels us, and we love it.
And then did you find on menus at juice bars? Because I think menus at juice bars, most of them are saying acai bowl, and then but I feel like they weren't saying dragon fruit bowl; they were saying pitaya bowl,
We were pushing Pitaya, and
which is
so
your brand name and not a generic fruit name.
yeah, exactly. Well, so yeah, so let me clear
The
this
way
up
it's
now.
pronounced is the yeah.
Pitahaya is how they call it in Nicaragua. And so all red dragon fruit got its all the origins can be traced back to Central America, obviously before Nicaragua even existed. Missionaries brought it over to Asia. Asians started cultivating it, and they made up this story about fire-breathing dragons, and that's how it got the name dragon fruit. So the real name is like pitahaya. And then if you go like cross the border in Tijuana, like they're always selling pitayas or like tunas. And so the Mexicans call this other fruit pitaya, but that is like really prickly and it comes off like a cactus that you like see in cartoons,
Way
whereas
different.
ours grows on like a cactus vine. And so we're like, nobody's going to pronounce pitahaya. Like, so
Yeah.
let's just call it pitaya,
Yeah.
and we'll call it like pitaya plus because we can add stuff to it. And I've always hated the name pitaya plus. Like I hated that name for so long. So like we just did uh, a brand change to Pitaya Foods, which I think like pays homage to like our who we
Yeah.
are. And so Pitaya Foods now sells red dragon fruit, right? And so
Got it.
but Pitaya bowls caught on because it just kind of like rolled off the tongue rather than like a red dragon fruit bowl. I don't know, like so.
And if you were gonna put an acai and a dragon fruit head to head, are they similar from benefits?
Um, yes, Pataya's got like some magnesium. But what I love about kind of like I was saying before is like Pitaya is 100% fruit, whereas acai, the nature of harvesting that fruit, what you're eating is like the peel, like a grape skin peel off of a marble. So in order to get that grape skin, you have to like saturate it in water and like run it over a grater, and then though it comes out is like the pulp, and so that pulp has already been saturated in water. And so those packs of acai, we sell acai today, are basically water and that skin that comes down. And how you can grade acai is by the percentage of solids. I don't know if it's like parts per million, but it's like 12 is okay and 14%. And so we always sell 14%. It's the highest percentage of solids. It's the most acai you're getting. So side by side, I just love it because dragon fruit, we just scoop out the middle and fill the smoothie pack. You're not getting, there's no water in
There's no
there.
skin in the dragon fruit, where the
No, you're
skin
just,
is the critical part of the acai.
yeah, it's like you're eating the flesh of the dragon fruit, you're eating the skin of the acai. So it's just, for me, it's just more
How
real.
does it get the color? Because isn't dragon, or I guess I don't eat a lot of dragon fruit. I thought it's all white on the inside. There's
There's two
purple one.
varieties. There's deep red and there's white. So
Uh,
we only, yeah, people, you're not the first one to say that. People are like, what are you putting into these packs? We're like, no, that's the real color of the
how
fruit.
come we predominantly in the U.S. only see the white?
Because that's what like Vietnam wanted to import. Like that's what the Chinese like buy so much dragon fruit from Vietnam. So that's what they predominantly buy. So that was what was predominantly grown. They were never thinking like smoothie, this is cool. And so like,
Yeah.
That's
But
how it
the functional benefits are the same, white or red, just different varieties.
red are a little bit more nutrient dense, like any, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Um,
so we're 2000, what, 15? You guys are still Pitaya Plus at this point,
yeah.
right?
And so we're just jamming. Where our goal for retail was like, we're gonna sell dragon fruit to every single place, that we can find. And we're like, so you fast forward over the next 3 to 4 years, we were able to get like retail distribution into like maybe like 10,000 locations. We took down Kroger, Publix, and we're just like this one SKU wonder in all these shelves, in all these stores rather. And so then 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we looked at our business. We're like, what's the value of what have we built right now? And we're like, okay, the value is our customers and our, distribution network. Like our customers love us. Like we're flying off the shelves. And so like we already have a good hook into these customers. Let's sell let's sell more than one thing to these customers.
Yeah.
Like, and so we did a great rebrand. We went from Pitaya Foods to Pitaya Plus to Pitaya Foods, work with Purely Righteous. It was really dug in with those guys. Greg Fleischman, Andrew Ozzie, they're really great guys. Another San Diego local
Yep.
branding house. Dug in with those guys and created Pitaya Foods. Hired some really great people. Andrew Crocker on my team. He has 25 years of frozen fruit experience. We built out supply chains from Peru. We brought in avocados from Peru, passion fruit from Vietnam, acai from Brazil, watermelon from Mexico, like building all this global supply chain, packaged it, finally figured it out, went to Whole Foods and we're like, hey, this is all our new SKUs. What do you think? And they're like, we love it. We want to cut you in before the reset. How quick can you get this? And we're like, oh my God, like we're just like
Wow.
floored. And so Whole Foods has been so supportive of everything we're doing. We're like so grateful. They have such a good team. We went through like 10 different buyers over 8 years. And over the last 3 years, they've like the dust has settled and like there's such a great team over
They
there.
leaned in. When they lean in, it's really big. They lean in.
It's really big. And so I think what entrepreneurs need to understand is like, okay, great. You have the best thing about getting in with Whole Foods on a national level is getting in with UNFI on like a national level. Now you have like a hunting license. You've got your product in all these DCs, and you can start hitting all these independents and cool and so that's like half the battle with these retailers. Like if you don't have distribution in their DC, like it's just they've got too much going on to help you do that.
Yep.
So we've so we actually, thank God, we got this whole line onto Whole Foods shelves in February of 2020. So
Wow.
then
A month before COVID.
month before the pandemic hits, every single item we had like 3 or 4 containers worth of product on the shelf at Whole Foods. Everything that we had on the shelf ended up in somebody's freezer. So it was like the
Because everybody
best.
panic bought.
Everyone panic bought, and everyone discovered that through our brand through that. And so I believe that we're like a real like habitual brand. And so like once we get into somebody's morning routine or someone's blender, like we tend to like stay there, like in their shopping cart or in their Instacart. And so 2020 was just like incredible year. Like it was, we're sailing along in March. April hit. At that point we were like 40% food service to all these juice bars that almost went to zero.
Wow. I didn't even think about the luck of getting all that Whole Foods distribution and then juice bars going to zero.
Yeah,
And
dude.
that balancing it out.
It was insane. So we got great trial. Those looking back on 2020, our sales of all those new items were like double of what we were forecasting. And
Wow.
then, but in April, our April was scary. It was the first time in 11 years of our country that we didn't have month over month growth, like from the previous year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're just hiring all these people. I'm like, are we cutting salaries right now?
Yeah.
And then May came back to life. And then June was our biggest month ever. We're like, oh my God, this is nuts. And then we launched Costco in August.
That's right.
So 2020 what sucked is that so many people suffered, like just trying to celebrate this wins of our team when so many people are suffering. Is sad in of itself, but it was, this frozen category has been so sleepy and nobody's been looking at it for so long. And like the pandemic just put a huge shining light on it. And like, people are back to eating like longer shelf life for, real healthy foods. And that's what we're
Yeah.
selling. Like, we're not plant-based, we're selling plants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we're
I
not,
love that.
like,
I love that quip. And so you guys just went to Costco, right? And did you go in with the dragon or did you go in with?
we did with our dragon fruit. We did a three region test, sent 4 truckloads to each
Wow.
region, and that ballooned to like 60 truckloads. And it was
Holy cow. How has supply chains been for you guys?
they are we did okay during the pandemic. They've been really, really challenging over the last 2 to 3 months, more so than anything, like just all the backups at the port and then the Suez Canal. I'm like, oh, Suez Canal. I'm like, that's not
Yeah,
going to affect us. And then my
it
ops
did.
director is like, no, when we ship, product from Asia, it goes through the Suez Canal to New York. I'm like, duh! Like,
It's funny when you see the memes of the boat, but then when it actually impacts you, it's not funny anymore. Those memes aren't funny when you're actually waiting.
3 months before that, we had 2 containers on a boat that were wiped. That are now at the bottom of the ocean. It got wiped off by a 30-foot wave that hit this container boat. And these are obviously huge ships. It was a big deal in shipping. Like, if anyone is shipping and like they know about this boat, like, yeah, our 2 containers are on that and now at the bottom of the ocean. Like, so supply chain has been it's been crazy, but we have such a good team. Everyone's like holding on, and we're just bulking up for this year.
So we did some justice on the Pitaya story, but we haven't even talked about HiTouch. And I'm not kidding when I think of you, Chuck. I think of like there's not many CEOs in this space that are running 2 businesses at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So walk us through how you got a hold of running I mean, I can tell you in your MBA program, they're not saying you should be running a chilled frozen distribution company, which seems like just a really efficient way to lose money.
Yeah. So, nothing happens without great partners. And my co-founder, Ben Hiddlestone, is, him well. He is just awesome to work with, and he holds it down for Pitaya. And on the other end of HiTouch, Czar Danielko I think he's like one of the best brains in beverage, like, and the most honest. Like, if you don't like Czar, it's because you don't like honest feedback. Like, and to be able to work with partners like that to help grow these businesses, that's what you really need. And HiTouch came alive. Green shoots that I alluded to earlier was that they were trying to be a national DSD, and they were, launching they got to like 70% of the Whole Foods regions.
And then Chuck, do you think that was driven by Whole Foods? Like, was Whole Foods pushing them to do that, or was this a
Yeah.
different?
It was like they're like, hey, we can do it here. And like, okay, so let's put trucks here. And so it was all these former Odwalla guys, really well-intentioned, but really undercapitalized. And, there's definitely, there's just so many brands to manage, and they were just growing so quickly. If they had, if they were better capitalized, they probably could have pulled it off, but they were hemorrhaging cash in like, the mid-Atlantic, or like some of these larger geographies where you have to drive these trucks over multiple states, blah, blah, blah. And the volumes are not what they are in the Northeast and Southern California. Like, it works in Southern California because the volume's there, and, we've got 65 Whole Foods, and then we've got.
And the density, right? You're not driving as far.
Yeah, exactly. So, they were just getting toxic. They took in some bad capital. And
You had
so
some product in there, right? You were.
at that point, no, because we discoed the juice. And so we were just watching green shoots from the sideline. I had a good relationship with the CEO. And I had access to the P&Ls and just looking at this business. And that's when I saw like Southern California should be profitable. And at the same time, whenever Green Shoots was on its last leg, they're raising capital. I'm in this investor meeting with one of the CEOs, and I'm looking in his eyes. I'm like, he doesn't even believe this can work anymore. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I just lost all my money. I'm like, I can't believe that Pitaya is actually successful, and all these beverage guys brought. But anyway, like, so when that was going down, Czar was in this meeting, and like, I was like, it just like hurt me so bad that this company was going down, and I saw an opportunity. And Whole Foods at the time was calling Czar. They're like, Czar, you guys can't go bankrupt. We need you. Like, we need this service in SoCal. I kept talking to Czar, and I'm like, dude,
And so
what if
Czar, was he a SoCal manager or
he was
what?
like the operations manager doing everything and totally under like,
For the whole country of green shoots?
no, for Southern California,
Southern California.
which is where Green Shoots started. And he
Got it.
was doing everything with zero support. Like nobody was supporting this guy, and he was like pulling off miracles. And dude, Green Shoots went down. They burned everyone. They like left everyone. They didn't pay their bills. Like they, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to small brands like didn't get
There's a
paid.
lot of money when you're a small brand.
It
Yeah.
was a lot of money. And so they had this toxic reputation. And I approached Czar, and I'm like, Czar, you know, what if Whole Foods really wants this? Let's go meet with Whole Foods. If they really want this, and I can raise some capital, like, can we all work together to figure this out? And so we sat down with Whole Foods and like, yeah, they're, you know, we need this business. Like, you guys do great cultivating, you know, young brands, and, you know, we can't just have one distributor doing everything. We need some, you know, other different options. And so they were great. And we worked together with them on a plan to just launch. And so Czar and I took over the same Green Shoots warehouse.
Wow.
We went down to Mercedes and Laguna Niguel. The guy let us walk off the lot with 5 Sprinter vans and like my credit. And I was like, all right, we're in
Wait,
business.
so didn't they already have trucks though at Green
No,
Shoot?
they were all so financially ruined. Like we couldn't even touch them. They were all like repoed. Like it was a it was a
Oh,
disaster.
so I thought it was like a swing and you already had their trucks. You had to go get new trucks.
We had to get all new trucks. We had like the
I
team.
just can't imagine you going like, yeah, let's get. I really hope these things work. I hope this works. Are
That's pretty much what happened. And so, but we were able to keep some of the team, like the hustlers, the guys who really build Green Shoots and HiTouch, or those guys were there. So we launched, and, you know, we went back to all these brands, like begging them. We're like, dude, we know Green Shoots just didn't pay you. They're like, what makes you think you're going to pay us? So like, I had to like personally guarantee like our first couple brands, and we were just doing like, so we launched with
because everybody knew that this was the reincarnation of Green Shoots, right? It wasn't like it was just like,
yeah, but we're like, we're not going national. We just want Southern California. Just give us SoCal. And we launched with like 5 brands, and Forager Project was like our like stamp. Like, we got to make this work for these guys. And so our guys went out, helped them get authorized in SoCal, and we just put Forager everywhere, and like we just made notice. And so
what products was this? Was this their yogurt?
green juices and like all their juices. They've evolved so many times. I don't think any of those original SKUs are still there.
Yeah.
But we made such a great shelf for these eye level, every single store, that we're like, we just use that as our reference for as we started to grow more brands. Like, hey, look at Fort, just don't talk to us, go to Whole Foods.
It's so funny, Chuck, because being in the goods business and then in the distribution business, it's kind of the same strategy. Is like, do one thing really, really well and then replicate it. Like, look what we did for Forager. Do you want that? We can do that for you, right? Look what we did in Whole Foods.
Exactly. And so it was great. I was able to like, or Czar and I were able to get that to profitability within like 8 months.
Wow. Holy smokes.
We came out swinging, and thank God, because I put so much on the line for that company. And so now we work with 40 different brands, and we manage about like 300, 400 different SKUs for everyone right now. And we've got a really good plans over the next 12 months. We're going to be growing pretty significantly. And, you know, as I was saying to you earlier, I feel like we are ground zero for innovation, right? All of our supply chain is perishable, and we're going to all these cool grocers and natural foods of Jimbo's and Lassen's and Whole Foods. And so, you know, we can bring them, you know, if it's cool and it's fresh, it's going to start in Southern California. The same way I wanted to start Pitaya Foods in Southern California, everybody comes through here. And so it's our obligation at HiTouch to talk to, like, at least like figure out and understand and talk to these entrepreneurs and know what's cool and what's not. And, you know, we don't have a shortage of lists of people who need distribution help, but what's been really great about HiTouch, we're now 6 years, 6 years old.
Wow.
uh, we never force business, right? We just tell people what we do, how we are, and like if that works for you, great. If that doesn't, that's fine too. And I think what makes High Touch really special is we have my partner Czar Danielko, who had all that experience with green shoots. He was a national accounts manager for Odwalla, then he went to Coke. So he started stocking shelves at Mother's Market when he was like 17 years old. He was working at Mrs. Gooch's before it was Whole Foods. Like,
Wow.
so he has all this experience. So he knows what's work. He knows the market. He knows like how to execute on shelf. And whereas from my side, like for Pitaya, I've read 40 or 50 different distributor contracts. I know what distributors need to work. And so it's like, if you're a brand coming to us and, we have like a 25 to 30% margin, like people freak out about that. But have you read your contracts from these big brands? Like, do you understand deductions? Like Pitaya Foods, I have somebody full-time Pitaya Foods employee who just does deductions, like we pay this person $60,000 and they pay for themselves. Like
Well, I
you,
think what we talk about a lot, I'm not sure which founder series it is, but the cost of distribution has not changed. It's just the way the accounting flows through has changed, right? True
crazy.
distribution is around 20%, depending how you want to take it, 20 to 30%, right? You can either take it at the front end and
Yeah.
then it's all done, or you take it in the back end. That cost has remained unchanged.
Yeah. And so for us, but just to clarify our service, like a High Touch employee, our TSR, territory sales rep, they drive their van full of product to Whole Foods. They walk in, they check all of our partner stats. They check all, like our guys spend 3 to 4 hours in one Whole Foods. They do 1 to 2 Whole Foods a day, or supermarkets a day. Um, and they check all the partner sets and they start building your orders. Okay, we need 4 more bananas, need some keto bars, and they
Yeah.
start building that order. And then they go out to their truck, they pull that order, they go to the receivers, and then they merchandise the stuff. And so not only are we helping the brands, make sure that their product's stocked, we're also, giving free labor to all these supermarkets.
Yeah.
When my guys go in and they're talking to the floor level buyers, they're like, hey dude, we've got 5 new SKUs of keto crisp. Can we put it here? And he's like, well, if, are you going to manage that shelf for us? Like, yeah, you don't even have to do ordering on it. I'm like, okay, yeah, take it. And so, there's definitely some planograms, everyone's different, but, we're in these stores every other day. We go to Venice Beach 5 days a week. We're going, at least 3 days a week. And so those
The
relationships
thing I
are
also love about that model, which is different than for folks that are in this business, is that when a wholesaler drops product in the back of the store, there's no incentive for them to make sure everything is selling. It's your job to make it so. But when you're the DSD, your goal is to sell as much product as possible and to make it look as good to sell as much as possible. So the incentives are aligned
Yeah.
more.
And so our territory sales reps are commissioned. They get commission. So they're getting paid to put your product on the shelf. Nobody else is doing that. And so like, we have like, if Rebel runs a big off shelf promo, my guys that are in there 3 days a week are talking to the buyers like, hey, Rebel's got an off shelf app. Can I get this end cap?
Yeah.
We'll stock it. They're like, go for it. And we guarantee all the sales so we can put more product on the shelf. So do you
Oh,
know how
that's
many?
part of the key relationship is you
Yeah.
guarantee the sales. So when there is slack out, Whole Foods say, hey, we didn't order it. You guys are the one doing it. We're just billing it back to you. And then you're billing it back to the brand.
Yeah. And so if you're like, brands have no idea how much money they're losing by being on promo and being out of stock. Like it's like you're paying to lose money. Like
It's burning money. It's burning
you're
money.
burning money. Whereas like our guys are incentivized. We're gonna like put you in and so High Touch works on really well on both ends of the spectrum. The big national brands, we do Rebel, Koyas, GTs, those guys, they're flying off the shelf. They can't afford to be out of stock. And then we do really well with like the small entrepreneurial brands who are like, I've never had a distributor before. Like, where should we go? Like, how could, where, like, I have got this weird pudding. Like, where do we even place this? We're like, all right, well, we can test it in 3 different stores at 3 different places. And
Yep.
once we get that experience, we'll see where it sells. And then we'll bust it out to the whole chain. Like, and so, and obviously like smaller brands are really, they have a lot of questions, a lot of enthusiasm and passion. And so there's a lot of work to be done. And it's like, we cultivate these small brands. They've got a million questions. And, if they're missing a bottle in like Del Mar, like the world is on fire. We're like, look at like the top line of what we're growing here. And it's like, and so we think we do a really good job of working with these entrepreneurs to get them ready to be like a national brand. Like we've brought, Mush, we were Mush's first distributor. We've got like a whole list of guys that we've launched that are now national brands. And I think we'll put you in the best position to succeed. Right. And so we'll make sure you're not out of stock. We'll make sure your numbers are there. And so that when you can have that data, you can package that to NorCal or
Totally.
Colorado. And so like, you only get one shot. Like, are you really going to like, I'm not here to argue, like you're going to really go versus us for like a couple, 2, 3, like in the end, it's like 1 or 2 margin points.
I mean, if you're starting as a regional brand, like you said, you only get one shot. You might as well give it the best effort as possible, plus demos, plus your merchandising, plus DSD. Because if you go into straight Unify, you have a lot more heavy lifting to do.
Yeah. And like, you can come to our warehouse and pick up product and go do a demo. Like we're here. Like you're going to be calling Providence to fix your problem in Venice Beach. Good luck with that. And
trying to 15 days to get a delivery appointment.
Yeah. And not to like totally trash them. Like that is a beast that they have built. And we're not really competing against them. Like, I've had talks with their executive. They're like, we love what you guys are doing because you guys save us headaches. Like we can't help all these brands.
Yeah. The thing I love most about this conversation, Chuck, is I feel like if you were in 2009 going to try to say, hey, what's this look like, right? What's this business we're building? The business plan that you put forth and where you've come is so different, right? I mean, the fruit has remained the same, but the path to get there is amazing, right? Like, I remember like just even seeing you guys with the bikes building blenders and like just you guys have done so much and the brand has stayed so tight the whole time. But the way you've attacked it has been a journey and it's been so successful. And I think it's a testament to what you guys hustle. Like you guys do good things and you hustle and you guys have great marketing and it's just been so fun to watch it grow.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been, first of all, my business plan was the worst business plan ever. It was like typed out word by word. It was like included a list of all the yoga studios that I was going to sell into this
business plan by a banker, huh?
It was horrendous. And I think my first investor was like, I'll give you money if I don't have to read this. Like, so yeah, I would never have, first of all, the reason we keep going is because it's still fun. Like we're still having so much fun, like, and like, having like problem solving and having different challenges come up and when having containers fall off in the bottom of the ocean, like the stuff that happens on a day-to-day basis is like, we get vans stolen at HiTouch and all of a sudden they're on the news being chased by a helicopter. We're like, it's like,
wait, that's happened?
That's happened. Yeah. Like,
that was straight marketing from you. I know that was.
I wish I didn't. I was the biggest fail of that. The van wasn't wrapped. It was just a white van.
Oh no.
Like, I can't.
Where's the top-down branding?
Total miss. But just like being exciting and like my partners are like, everyone involved in this company. All the founders have equity. All the founders of HiTouch have equity, and just getting people to believe in what you're doing and on an everyday, daily basis. It's just, that's the fun part. And the fact that it's fun is the reason we're still going.
Well, you've built a beast of a business and you now are not only a big contributor to the Naturally San Diego community, but you guys are a force nationally and you guys have built something great. And we're just so thrilled to have you in the San Diego community in our backyard here and being able to pick up Pitaya bowls at juice bars and frozen fruit now at Whole Foods and seeing your guys' trucks all around the country. So just keep it up, man. I'm so thrilled.
The big key is that you got to be profitable, right? Like I think that we're like a big brand that's managed to fly under the radar is because we've just been profitable. We don't have these big, capital raises on LinkedIn or anything like that. And so we're like this big flying under the radar brand, and I love that.
I mean, I would say you're a minority there
Yeah.
because yeah, I'm sure a lot of times the capital markets are so efficient. It's been tempting to raise capital, but you've stayed true to building a really solid business.
Yeah, it's been fun. We still have a lot of good things planned. So still excited, still excited to show up to work every day.
You're the best, man. I thank you so much for contributing. I love it. I can't wait to see you soon. Everybody in Naturally community, thank you for attending, and we will see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
See ya.
Appreciate it.
Bye.